The village of Ijayi was alive with the sounds of early morning, roosters crowing, children laughing, and women pounding yams in rhythm. At the center of it all was the small mud hut of Abeni and her husband, Afolabi. Abeni sat outside, fanning herself, her eyes fixed on the horizon. Afolabi, the rains have been late this year. I pray for a good harvest and something more. Afolabi smiled, wrapping an arm around her shoulders. You mean a child? The gods will bless us soon. I can feel it. Their neighbor, Mama Titi, walked by and stopped, lowering her voice. Have you heard about the king's new decree? No more commoners are allowed to have children until the queen bears another son. Abeni's heart skipped. But what if the king's child does not come? Mama Titi shrugged. Then we all wait. The king's word is law. That evening, Afolabi and Abeni sat by the fire, whispering plans and hopes. The village buzzed with rumors about King Ajayi, a man feared for his temper but respected for his wisdom. Suddenly, a shadow appeared at the door. It was the village messenger, breathless. The king demands to see you, Afolabi. Me? Why? Afolabi asked, alarm rising. The messenger's eyes darkened. Come quickly. The fate of your family may depend on this visit. Abeni gripped Afolabi's hand tightly. We must go. Outside, the night air felt heavy with secrets and danger. Afolabi and Abeni walked briskly through the village, the messenger leading the way. The moonlight barely lit the path, but their hearts pounded louder than their footsteps. Why would the king want me? Afolabi muttered. I'm just a farmer. Don't question it now, Abeni whispered. We'll find out soon enough. They reached the king's palace, a grand building of carved wood and shimmering brass. 2 stern guards stood at the gate. State your business, one barked. The king summoned us, the messenger said. The guards exchanged glances, then opened the gate. Inside, torches flickered along the walls, casting long shadows. In the throne room, King Ajayi sat tall and cold. His eyes burned like fire as he stared at Afolabi. You have disobeyed my decree, the king said. Your wife is with child. Afolabi's breath caught. My king, we did not mean to. You will bring this child to me the day it is born, the king interrupted. It will be raised in my palace. Abeni's hands trembled. But my lord, that is my son. My flesh and blood. King Ajayi's voice grew sharper. He will be my son too. The kingdom's future is at stake. Afolabi swallowed his fear. We have no choice? None. You will obey or suffer the consequences. As they bowed and left, Afolabi whispered to Abeni, we must protect our child. No matter what. Abeni nodded fiercely. The child will be wise. He will be strong. Outside, the night seemed darker than before, but a spark of hope flickered in their hearts. Back at their hut, Afolabi and Abeni sat in silence, the king's words echoing in their minds. The future felt uncertain and dangerous. We must think carefully, Afolabi said. If the king takes our son, will we ever see him again? Abeni's eyes filled with tears. I fear the worst, but I will not let the king break our family. That night, under the soft glow of the moon, Abeni whispered, if the child is to grow wise, he must learn from us first. Afolabi nodded. We will teach him all we know, how to be strong, how to speak with courage. Suddenly, a soft rustle came from outside. A figure stepped from the shadows. It was Elder Sola, the village wise man. I heard the king's decree, Elder Sola said gravely. This child will be special, mark my words. Elder Sola, Afolabi said, we fear for the boy's safety. What can we do? The elder's eyes shone. The king's power is great, but so is the power of wisdom and courage. You must raise the child to be clever and brave. Abeni asked, but how? The king's guards watch us closely. Elder Sola smiled faintly. Teach him in whispers, in stories, in secret. One day, the child will speak wisdom that no one can ignore. As the elder disappeared into the night, Afolabi and Abeni held each other tightly, ready to face whatever came next. Days passed, and the village buzzed with uneasy whispers about the king's strange demand. Afolabi and Abeni worked harder than ever, preparing for the child's arrival. One afternoon, as the sun dipped low, Abeni sat by the river, her hands gently resting on her swollen belly. Afolabi joined her, his voice soft but firm. This will be more than a child, he said. He will be a symbol of hope for all of us. Abeni smiled tiredly. I pray the gods hear your words. That evening, as they prepared for sleep, Afolabi took Abeni's hand. We must promise each other something, he said. No matter what happens, we protect the child. We teach him courage and wisdom. Abeni squeezed his hand tightly. I promise. Just then, a soft breeze rustled the leaves outside, as if nature itself agreed. The night was still when the cries rang out. Abeni clutched the edge of the mat, sweat pouring from her face. Elder Mama Kiki, the village midwife, bent over her, calm but firm. Push, Abeni. Push. You are almost there. Afolabi paced outside the hut, his hands shaking. Each cry from his wife made his heart jump. Then silence. Then a baby's cry. Afolabi rushed in just as Mama Kiki raised the newborn, wrapped in soft cloth. A strong boy, she said, smiling. Healthy. And loud, too. Tears rolled down Abeni's cheeks. He made it. He's here. Afolabi fell to his knees beside her. Ologbon, he whispered. His name is Ologbon. Mama Kiki raised an eyebrow. You name him already? Abeni nodded. He came with a spirit beyond his years. His eyes. They are old. The child blinked up at them, as if he understood every word. Suddenly, a sharp knock. The door creaked open. 2 palace guards stood there, stone-faced. The king heard the child is born, one of them said. We have come to take him. Abeni clutched Ologbon tightly. No, please, just one night. The guard looked at the baby, then at Afolabi. You have 3 days. The king shows mercy. On the 4th morning, the boy must come to the palace. They turned and left. Abeni stared at Afolabi, fear in her voice. 3 days? That's all we have. Afolabi leaned closer to the sleeping child. Then in 3 days, Ologbon must learn more than most children learn in years. They both looked at their son, already different, already watching the world with curious eyes. By dawn the next day, Afolabi had already cleared a space inside the hut. He rolled out his old scrolls, the ones Elder Sola gave him years ago, scripts of wisdom, riddles, and proverbs passed down through generations. He's just a baby, Abeni said gently, cradling Ologbon. He can't even sit up. Afolabi smiled as he took the boy in his arms. Then let him hear wisdom before he learns to crawl. He sat cross-legged, holding Ologbon to his chest, and began to speak softly. A river that forgets its source will dry up. A child who forgets his people will lose his way. Ologbon stared up at him, blinking. See? Afolabi grinned. He's listening. Abeni shook her head, laughing despite the fear still sitting in her chest. You're turning him into a little elder already. Throughout the day, they whispered proverbs into Ologbon's ears, sang old songs from their childhood, and told him the stories of great men and women, of bravery, trickery, and truth. When Elder Sola arrived that evening, he smiled at what he saw. Good. Let him soak it all in, he said. Even water in a calabash knows when it is full. He has 3 days, Afolabi said, voice heavy. And then he will belong to the king. No, Elder Sola corrected. He will only appear to, but a wise child belongs to no one. He belongs to truth. Elder Sola bent down and touched Ologbon's forehead gently. This one will speak, and the earth will listen. And in that quiet moment, as the night crept in, baby Ologbon gurgled, and for the first time, let out a sound that almost formed a word. Abeni gasped. Did you hear that? Afolabi nodded slowly. He said, Aya, the breath of wisdom. The next morning, the village buzzed with whispers again. Something was off. People glanced around more carefully. Conversations were hushed. Abeni noticed a boy, no more than 12, hanging around their hut, pretending to play, but always watching. Afolabi, she whispered, we're being watched. Afolabi stepped outside and called, Hey, boy, what's your name? The boy flinched. Tolu, sir? And what brings you here? I just like babies, he mumbled, avoiding eye contact. Afolabi exchanged a glance with Abeni. That was a lie, and a weak one. That night, Elder Sola returned, cloaked in darkness. There is a whisper in the palace, he said. The king is afraid. Afraid? Abeni frowned. Of a baby? Yes, Elder Sola said. The oracle told him a child would rise from among the commoners, a child with wisdom sharper than the king's own son. Afolabi's heart beat faster. So, Ologbon? The elder nodded. He suspects. That's why he's watching you. He will not raise the child as a prince, he will break him. Abeni clutched her son tighter. No, I won't let him. You may not have a choice, Elder Sola said. But Ologbon will. When the time comes, he must choose his words wisely. Suddenly, from his woven mat, Ologbon made a strange noise. Eba, he said, then smiled. They all froze. Did he just? Afolabi began. Yes, Elder Sola said slowly. He speaks. The hut was silent except for the soft crackle of the fire. This boy, Abeni whispered. He is not ordinary. No, Elder Sola said. He is the voice that will shake the throne. And outside, hidden in the shadows, young Tolu ran off into the night, straight to the palace. In the grand palace of King Ajayi, the torches burned low. The king sat on his throne, drumming his fingers on the lion-shaped armrest. His son, Prince Adewale, stood beside him, dressed in fine silks. Then Tolu entered, panting. He dropped to his knees. My king, the child, he spoke. Ajayi's eyes narrowed. What did he say? I don't know the meaning, my king. But he made sounds not like a baby. It was like he knew what they were saying. The king stood slowly. So the prophecy is true. Prince Adewale frowned. What prophecy? King Ajayi turned to him. Before you were born, the oracle warned me, a child of dust shall speak fire, and the crown shall tremble at his tongue. Adewale scoffed. A baby? Speak fire. But the king was not smiling. Wisdom is more dangerous than swords. A child with truth in his mouth can destroy kings. He called for his captain. Send a chariot. On the third morning we take the child. But not to raise him. I will test him. Test him how? Adewale asked. The king turned, a dark look in his eyes. I will ask him riddles. Difficult ones. If he fails, I will declare him cursed and he will not leave the palace alive. Tolu's eyes widened. But, my king, what if he passes? King Ajayi paused. Then I will know the threat is real. And I will deal with it. Outside, the palace gates creaked as soldiers prepared for the journey to Afolabi's home. Back in the hut, unaware of the storm gathering, Ologbon cooed and reached for Abeni's necklace. His tiny fingers wrapped around it tightly. Abeni smiled, brushing his cheek. Sleep, my son. Tomorrow, the world begins to test you. The third morning, the rooster crowed 3 times before the sun even peeked over the trees. Abeni had barely slept. She dressed Ologbon carefully in a soft white cloth. Afolabi stood beside her, silent but tense, like a warrior going into battle. They're coming, he said, looking out the window. I can hear the hoofbeats. From the distance, the royal chariot approached, gold-trimmed, pulled by 2 dark horses. Behind it, 5 palace guards marched with straight faces and sharp swords. Abeni kissed Ologbon's forehead. Remember what you've heard, little one. Remember the words we've given you. The guards stopped in front of the hut. The captain stepped forward. By order of King Ajayi, we have come for the boy. Afolabi nodded and handed Ologbon over carefully as though giving away his own heart. Abeni's voice trembled. Please, don't harm him. The captain didn't reply. He turned and mounted the chariot, cradling Ologbon in his arms like a package. As they disappeared down the dusty road, Abeni fell to her knees. Afolabi, what if we never see him again? Afolabi held her close. We will, because Ologbon was born with a purpose, and even the king cannot destroy destiny. Meanwhile, in the chariot, the captain looked down at the baby. Ologbon stared back calmly, not crying, not afraid, just watching. He's quiet, one guard muttered. Too quiet, another replied. Back at the palace, King Ajayi prepared a grand hall. At the center, a carved stool for the child. Around it, his elders, his son, his guards. Prince Adewale scoffed. We're gathering all this for a baby? You'll see, the king said, eyes sharp. If he is who the prophecy speaks of, this day will change everything. As the chariot rolled into the palace courtyard, Ologbon looked up and smiled. The palace hall was silent as the guards carried Ologbon in. He was set gently on a small wooden stool in the center of the room. The king sat on his golden throne, his face unreadable. Elders lined the walls, watching. Prince Adewale leaned against a pillar, arms crossed. A child who cannot talk cannot threaten a king, the prince muttered. But Ologbon just sat calmly, his tiny hands folded, his eyes sweeping the room like he knew every secret hidden in it. King Ajayi rose. Let the test begin. He stepped forward and addressed the child with a booming voice. Tell me, Ologbon, what is heavier than the mountain, but lighter than the wind? Gasps echoed through the hall. A riddle, one elder whispered. For a baby? The king's lips curled. Let him prove his wisdom. Ologbon tilted his head. His mouth opened slightly. Then, in a clear, soft voice, he spoke. Truth. It breaks men more than stone, but floats even when buried. The hall went dead silent. Adewale's mouth fell open. An elder covered his heart with his hand. One woman began to weep. The king's jaw tightened. He stepped closer. Second riddle, he snapped. What walks without feet? and speaks without a tongue. Again silence. And then, Ologbon lifted one hand and said, "A shadow. It walks behind its owner and whispers secrets in the dark." The room erupted in murmurs. Some elders stood in awe. Others bowed their heads. Prince Adewale stepped forward angrily. "This is trickery. A baby cannot speak like this." But Ologbon turned his gaze to him and said softly, "A crown does not make a man wise, any more than feathers make him a bird." Adewale flinched. King Ajayi stared at the child. This baby, barely 3 days old, who now held the attention of the entire kingdom. For the first time in many years, the king was afraid. He sat down slowly. "This child," he muttered, "may truly be the one the gods spoke of." Ologbon simply smiled. The great hall remained still, the weight of Ologbon's words pressing down like the midday sun. King Ajayi sat on his throne, eyes locked on the child. A baby who speaks like an elder, who answers riddles no man has solved. He murmured. One elder stepped forward and bowed. "Your Majesty, this is no ordinary child. We must seek the oracle again." "No," Ajayi said sharply. "The oracle already warned me." Gasps filled the air. The king, who had mocked the villagers and ruled with pride, now stood frozen, his riddle returned with wisdom deeper than the elders. But what does a king do when a newborn outshines him in front of his own court? My friends, this was only the beginning. What the king did next will shake the kingdom. Subscribe to Zamper Folktales and turn on your bell, because in part 2, the king makes a move that will change Ologbon's fate forever.